Good evening. This is the regular joint meeting of the Oakley City Council acting as a successor agency to the Oakley Redevelopment Agency, Oakley Public Finance Authority. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Roll call. Councilmember Fuller,
Dr. Fuller is here.
Councilmember Meadows,
Here.
Councilmember Williams,
Here.
Vice Mayor Henderson,
Here.
and I am Mayor Shannon Shaw, present. We are going to move on to item 1.2, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. This is going to be led by Madison Lennon and Larissa Contreras. In just 1 second, we're going to have them come up, and I'm going to read a little bit about them. Madison takes horse riding lessons every week. She is in band and leadership. She loves animals and wants to be a vet or a teacher when she grows up. Larissa, better known as Bella, a beautiful girl with an old soul, has tremendous love for music, dance, and collecting trinkets. Her wittiness will make you laugh when your heart needs it the most. She is kind, respectful, and always very helpful to those around her.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 1.3 is going to be rescheduled to March 25th. This was the Contra Costa Library Commission update, so we will have that at our next meeting. And we do have a proclamation recognizing March as American Red Cross Month. Unfortunately, the person that was receiving this is not here this evening, so we will go ahead and get that sent out. So item 1.4 is recognizing Oakley resident Jaron for winning the three-point shooting contest during the NBA All-Star Game. We're going to have a short video.
Keep shooting. Keep going. Oh! He did it! He did it! Oh! He did it! He did it! Hey! Hey! Yeah, he is. Hey, get him the money! Hey, put it, mask up! Hey, go, jump in the money! Jump in the money! How's it feel to win $100,000 in front of everyone?
This is surreal. I can't thank anybody but my dad. And thank you for the opportunity.
Is Jaron here in the audience with us today? All right, would you like to come up and... Well, it was pretty awesome. Tell us about it. How did it happen? How did you get there? And what have you done since?
So I didn't know I was going to the game until the day before. My family surprised me with tickets, which was pretty cool. And we got to the stadium pretty early, went up to our seats, and we're just watching the shoot around. And one of Mr. Reese's team members walked up to me, asked me a few questions about my background and story and how I grew up. And he said, "There's no guarantee, but would you want to come down to the court and compete to win something?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." Yeah. And then they couldn't tell me much of the details of what I was going to do, so I didn't know what I was going down there to do. And then I didn't know until I walked out onto the court and saw Damian Lillard. But after that, we've been talking to them about getting the money, and it's been a long process, but we're getting there. And a lot of people, it's cool seeing a lot of people recognize me and stuff and say congratulations, which is always cool. But yeah,
Do you have any plans with your winnings?
um, definitely take the responsible route, save a lot of it, put some towards college, my next college that I go to, and not not like a. I don't have something on mind that I'm gonna buy yet, so still thinking.
All right. Any other council members? Councilmember Williams?
Well, we have a bunch of Mr. Beast fans in our house, so they were super excited. They could care less about basketball, but they certainly loved that. So I really think it's super cool that you got to do that, and I appreciate you representing Oakley and putting us on the map, and good job. I think it was a great story, too, about your dad getting you the tickets and stuff. So I love it, and, you know, congratulations, and sounds like government with that lag in money, huh?
Thank you.
Councilmember Meadows?
Yes, congratulations. That was cool. Cool seeing you do that.
Thank you.
Good job.
Councilmember Fuller?
I was a wrestler, so good, great wrestling season and basketball season coincide. And so I never got to do the hoops, which was fortunate for the school. But I just wanted to comment. I see a proud dad, I think it's a dad right here with somebody with a phone up. Grandpa is here. Just be advised that this is being recorded, and I think if you were to talk to Mr. McMurray or Mr. Navarro at some time, they could get you a cut of this particular one. Great speech. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Vice Mayor Henderson?
Just want to say congratulations. Great job of representing the city of Oakley while you're out there. So good job.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. I think it's great. Would you mind if we come down and get a photo with you now that you're
No.
super famous?
Yeah, sure.
All right. All right, we're going to move on to item 2, which is public comment. At this time, public comment will be heard on items not on the agenda. I do have public speaker cards submitted. If you would like to submit a public speaker card, please complete a blue speaker card located in the lobby and submit it to the city clerk. The time limit to speak is 3 minutes. The time limit is monitored by the timer located in front of the mayor's seat. When 1 minute remains on the timer, it will beep once as a reminder to complete your comments before your time expires. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, or other outbursts so that everyone may have the opportunity to be heard. Note that due to provisions of state law, the council may not engage in dialogue regarding comments. However, staff may be directed to respond to persons making public comments. We did receive 2 comments submitted online for non-agenda items. Both indicated they did not wish to speak, but we do have 1 speaker card. Bud Chaddock.
Good evening, council members, mayor, and people of Oakley. I've been in contact with there's a lot of things with the salmon I've been working with all over the place. I just got contacted by Chuck Hansen of Hansen Environmental, who ran the Walnut Grove area sound barrier, which I worked with him on the Delta smelt and the salmon smolts. And as far as restoration going and keeping them from going into the LA pumps years ago. So that was a big deal that we worked environmentally on. I worked with him. He's very renowned, known, and very lucky that I was able to connect with him, pardon me. And he was very gracious. He's working with Walnut Creek now on their salmon fishery over there in their creek. And he told me, I said, well, how about if we get an urban coalition? He said, I'll bring it up to Walnut Creek. They accepted. I says, I have to talk to my council about it. But they seem like we want to protect urban streams and creeks from all poaching and also to restore it. Because one thing that I do know is that only 99,000 salmon got up to the Sacramento this year. If you take Oakley and Brentwood together for the population, that's one salmon a year per household. Do you think that's an established amount that should just get by and go lower? We are part of the problem here, not protecting our fisheries, restoring the boundaries of it, and making sure that these streams can give their ultimate output. It's just one of these things that it's good hearing it from a biologist like him, that he's on it now. And he's done stuff all over the world, Alaska, all over. And I highly respect, have seen his work and what he's done. And I feel very honored that he talked to me about it even. And we would like to get areas, say in Richmond, Oakley, Walnut Creek, different areas, to get a coalition to get this stuff going. And I think it's, the poaching problem's a big deal. Like I said before, all our fish got taken out with no spawn. I just did a survey the other day with UC Davis with nets and everything. And we did some water samples, no fry. Well, no eggs got laid. They got taken out of our creek. So we're continuing with more research on that with UC Davis, as well as probably connect with Hansen Environmental, which, like I said, he's pretty worldwide now. And it's just up to us to embrace it when it's been offered. And I feel like it should be taken seriously, and hopefully so. Thank you.
All right, we are going to close public comment on non-agenda items and move on to item 3, which is council member comments. Please remember that council members have 3 minutes to speak, which will also be regulated by the timer. Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, first I want to acknowledge Chief Beard's prompt response to the response time, 4 minutes, 18 seconds, which is great for the department. So I wanted to thank that. He went and looked that up that night. So it's been a little bit. Thank you. And I know Mr. McMurray is working very hard on what I requested on the Oaks. So I'm waiting patiently on that too. So thank you.
All right, seeing no others, we are going to move on to the consent calendar. Are there any, I do not have any speaker cards submitted for the consent calendar. Are there any items the council would like to pull?
4.1.
Move approval of the remainder.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, it passes unanimously. Item 4.1, Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, because of the council policy, the minutes as of reported, I do not think are thorough enough, so I will not approve these minutes.
I move approval of 4.1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Passes 4-1. All right, item 5 is public hearings, which we have none. 6, regular calendar, which we have none. Item 7 is reports. 7.1, city manager report. Mr. McMurray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. Since we had a lot of people in the room, I thought it would be a good idea to bring attention to our first annual Day of Service that's coming up here on April 12th. It will be the staging area will be the rec center. The event will start at 8 a.m. It will last through 12 p.m. And there are 5 total community projects that people can sign up for through our rec program to participate in. So anything from planting trees to picking up trash to spreading some bark or cleaning Marsh Creek. So there's a lot of different opportunities to volunteer in the community. Also, I would like to follow up on a request by a future agenda item request by then it was Mayor Williams and it was Vice Mayor Shaw who did the second. And this was to allow staff some time to explore how to make our public comments more accessible to the community. So what we've done, we've always had the comments printed out and accessible here at City Hall. We have a public review binder where you can look at the agenda and the public comments that are submitted through our online system. But what we've done is prior to the meeting at 5 p.m., we are going to post all public comments received for the City Council meeting on the city website. It will be under the Agenda and Meetings section of the page. And as you scroll down on that page, as we're showing everyone now, as you get to the bottom before the agenda, there will be a link for each individual meeting. So that is how we are displaying the comments, and those are now accessible to the public at 5 p.m. at or around the same time the comments are made accessible to the City Council. So we hope that finishes that item. And then lastly, I just draw attention to the business license update list for the month of February that has been added into the agenda packet. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
I have one question.
Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, the couple of public comments, in fact, a lot of the letters I read here, they wish it not be read or not be posted. Are we going to post those anyway?
Well, they're entered into the record, so when someone has the option to choose how they want to submit their public comment, they can either select that they want the comment entered into the record, but they also want to speak at the City Council meeting, or they can choose to not speak and just have the comment entered into the record. But they're all public records, so this is another way for us to ensure that the public has equal access to all the comments that have been submitted prior to 5 p.m.
Well, my suggestion is that when you're putting this into place, that you put that, notice that every comment that received within the City Hall will appear under public comments on the webpage. It's for the safeguard of the angst of the audience more than anything else, or the residents, because we haven't quite done that before. So if you're going to publish them, say I'm going to publish them, but let people know that everything that's sent in here will be published.
Councilmember Williams.
Every public comment is published and accessible normally.
Correct. Every public comment that we receive prior to today's change has been placed in the public review binder that is outside of the council chambers.
Because that's why public comments happen, so that everybody has equal access to all the comments, right?
Sure. Everything submitted before 5 p.m., anything submitted after 5 p.m. or submitted at the meeting through the blue card system that we use, those comments are automatically entered into the record as part of this meeting as well.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, what can you clarify, entered into the record?
They're part of the official record for this meeting, just like the minutes are part of the record, the agenda is part of the record, any handouts that are submitted during a meeting are part of the record. So anything that takes place in this room during the meeting itself is part of the official record.
Yes, and I've requested those records, maybe referred to a Public Records Act, which is fine, request portal. And it's not available necessarily on the webpage, but I think that what we are doing now is that we're bringing them up and putting them very straight across, that everything that arrives here will appear on the front page of our webpage regarding agenda under public comments. And I think that's only fair for the audience to know that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. We are going to move on to item 7.2, reports from council liaisons and regional committees and boards.
Sorry?
We're going to move on to 7.2, which is the city council reports. Vice Mayor Henderson.
Since our last meeting, I attended Diablo Water. Diablo Water's in the middle of doing a rate survey on costs, and we should see some results of what they're looking to do for rates for next year as we get closer to May. Also on March 6th, I attended the Contra Costa County Habitat Conservative. The Conservative purchased 144 acres of land off of Baroni Valley as mitigation land. That concludes my report.
Councilmember Meadows.
Last week, I attended Contra Costa Transportation Authority Planning Committee meeting. And that's all.
Councilmember Williams.
I did say on the last one that there was a lot that was happening, so sorry, everybody. Tri-Delta Transit, we welcomed several new board members. Brentwood, Pittsburgh, Antioch now have full representation on that board again. There were some survey results that came out for a measure that I've talked about a couple different times. There's potentially going to be a revenue measure. They polled Contra Costa residents, and 53% of Contra Costa County said they would be favorable to having a half-cent sales tax, but that's a long way from passing. It needs 2/3 to pass. So that was initial polling done through EMC Research. I'm not sure how many people here saw the news about Brentwood having the longest commute in the country at 46 minutes. And so we had some discussions about working on a region on that jobs housing balance. Nope, that's already passed. There is a bus bridge in Pittsburgh as they got new fare gates. So also attended the Cal Cities legislative dinner. Jesse Irrigine was one of the speakers, and he talked about some of his priorities: modernization of the Brown Act, legislation making hospitals not allowed to access immigration records. We also heard from Assembly Bauer Kahn. She introduced wildfire legislation funds and making that easier to allocate. She's also on the AI task force, so she's introducing a whole slate of bills around AI protection for kids and workforce development. Liz Ortega is an assembly member. She's fighting for some hospital care. She's got a bunch of different insurance bills regarding denials. Senator Wahab was focused on housing insecurity and social services cuts, and talking about how home ownership is the American dream. So she's got a lot of bills in order to promote that. She also is focusing on PG&E, which I know a lot of people will be happy. And she gave us the statistic that PG&E has raised rates 6 times in the last 12 months. And then we also had a lot of discussion about implementing Prop 36 and committing the budget to covering the enforcement of it, but there is no funding mechanism for that. Also went to the mayor's conference. We received a presentation from eBricks, which I'm going to let our mayor go over since she sits on that board. Really interesting though. And there's a couple different things coming up. East Bay Regional Park Districts are hosting wildflower tours. March 16th, it will be at Black Diamond. March 22nd, it will be at both Black Diamond and Big Break. They were talking about the revenue measures to address the deficits in transit. We heard from Family Justice Center, and there's some concerns about some of their federal grants. They currently have 5 federal grants and 5 state and county grants, so they are heavily reliant on those federal grants. Let's see. Their Assembly member Farias also spoke there, and she introduced a bill that will require EDD and CDFA to conduct labor shortage assessments and provide a legal pathway to citizenship for agriculture and service industries if they comply with federal law. We heard from BART, and they surveyed their riders, and their satisfaction rate is the highest it's been at 73%. I know Mr. Chaddock probably has info on this, but this is the 3rd year in a row where there will be no salmon season. And SFPUC won a court case that will allow them to discharge raw sewage material into water sources. So just some things to look out for. Also attended the East Bay Leadership Council series. We had a discussion with AG Rob Bonta. He was talking about all the different things, including housing. He was talking about immigration laws and saying that the federal government does have a right to enforce it, but it needs to be done legally, and that's what California is standing behind. There's a couple different task force that the AG has set up regarding hate crimes and retail theft. And also talking about AI again, how it's a huge economic driver, potentially one of the greatest inventions of humankind, his quote, not mine. And he wants to capture the good parts and put guardrails in place to deal with the inevitable bad. Also attended a mental wellness webinar that was hosted by Brentwood. And it was supported by Contra Costa Crisis Center, NAMI, Family Justice Center. They gave resource info, and hopefully we'll have more of those webinars. It was really interesting. There were a lot of people on it. Also attended Choice in Aging and Network of Care crab feeds, and I think that's it.
All right, I will try to be quick. On the 26th, I attended a meeting with the city manager and the police chief regarding some public safety items that we are working on. The 26th, Tri-Delta Transit, Councilmember Williams has already reported on that. On the 27th, I went to the California League of Cities East Bay board meeting, where we are just working on different things for local council members throughout the year. And then we had the Cal Cities East Bay dinner that Councilmember Williams reported on. Unfortunately, Senator Cabaldon was not able to be at that. He was invited and confirmed, but last minute he had to cancel. But I have talked to his staff to see if we can get him here in Oakley to come talk to our residents, maybe do a district day where residents and council can meet with him. I did attend the eBricks meeting, and a couple things to note on that is those agencies that are within the East Bay Regional Communication Systems Authority already can receive a discount on Motorola upgrades, but eBricks was able to negotiate a deeper discount totaling 37.95% for all units that are upgraded. So I just wanted to let the PD know about that. They have added, signed a contract to put a new system in Antioch, and we did approve them to move forward with 3 sites on wheels, which then if any of the communication towers go down, those sites on wheels would be able to go to that location, so there would be no interruption with first responder radios. We are working on updating the bylaws, and $64 million in funding over the next 15 years for capital replacements. The Antioch station will be at Walton Lane, and they are still working on plans for an encryption, which is a big thing a lot of agencies are moving forward with. I also attended the Choice in Aging Crab Feed. Choice in Aging is an amazing nonprofit that works with seniors to try to keep them aging in place and not in retirement homes. I judged the Oakley's Got Talent on March 1st with our own Chief Beard as well as Alexi Chuko, and it was quite a talented bunch. It wasn't as hard this year. I got a little practice last year, so I will do it again if asked. Had a virtual meeting with county staff for their H3 health, housing, and homelessness, and their core team, and they did provide some very specific information to Oakley. I printed one out for each of the council members if they're interested in seeing the numbers. Core Outreach had 112 individual contacts with Oakley residents, and there's a pretty good report on that if anyone's interested. I do have the data. Let's see, Mayor's Conference in Lafayette, where eBricks was the presenter, so we've already covered that. While it's not Oakley, I did go to the Costco grand opening. It's pretty exciting. My husband was there since 3:45 in the morning because he's pretty dedicated. I was not. The East County Little League opening day, I was able to judge the banner competition, and there were some great homemade banners, so that was a lot of fun. Network of Care Crab Feed, another nonprofit. This nonprofit supports families when their child or family members in the hospital, and you're there not thinking about anything, and they provide meals to the family that's just there supporting their loved ones. And also attended the Mental Health Forum from Brentwood. Many good speakers. They're going to try to have another one in the summer, open to all residents, not just in Brentwood. Unfortunately, they had to go all virtual for the meeting last night. And then I've had a lot of meetings, emails, and phone calls with residents regarding an agenda item coming up. So I will end there, and we will move on to 7.2B, which is requests for future agenda items. Anybody have any requests? All right, seeing none, we are moving right along to item 8.1, 40 Mercedes Lane Preliminary General Plan Amendment Work Session to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation of approximately 5.7 acre site from commercial to residential high. And before I bring up Mr. Cortez, I did just want to remind everybody, I see a lot of people here. I think this is great communication. Public participation is awesome. Just please remember, we do have a lot of speakers, so if we applaud, booing, all the things, we want to make sure everybody's comfortable to speak. So thank you.
Sorry, I had to check. Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. The next item on tonight's agenda is a preliminary general plan amendment work session to discuss a potential amendment of the general plan land use designation of an approximately 5.7 acre site from commercial to residential high for the property located at 40 Mercedes Lane. A preliminary work session offers a chance for feedback and community involvement. Because this is a work session, city staff has not conducted a typical review of conceptual plans. The purpose of this session is to simply get feedback on whether there is support for the change in the land use designation. Oh, wrong button. The goal of this session is for the proponent to receive feedback from the City Council and their potential proposal, and additionally receive feedback from the public. Tonight, before the City Council, we do not have a formal development application under review. A formal vote will not be taken in support or against the preliminary general plan amendment, and a decision will not be made here tonight. So why do we have two work sessions? When a preliminary general plan amendment application is submitted, two work sessions will be held. One work session is for the Planning Commission, which was held on February 4th, and one work session is for the City Council. The City Council receives a summary of the Planning Commission work session and any feedback provided by them to the proponent. The City Council work session is always held. While a preliminary general plan amendment is not a formal application, holding work sessions with both bodies is in alignment with the Planning Commission's official role as an advisory commission to the City Council on land use related legislative actions. So what is land use versus zoning? A PGPA work session serves to discuss the merits of a potential land use designation amendment to the general plan. Land use describes the designated use of the land, for example, residential or commercial, as depicted in the general plan, while zoning refers to the regulations and laws that determine how the land can be used and developed. Zoning codes are set up as rules that regulate what can and can't be done on a particular property. They're established and enforced at the city level. In California, you can find zoning codes for virtually any city and their municipal code. The zoning code gives developers, landowners, and builders a set of specific rules for what can and can't be done or what can and can't be developed on a property, as well as the regulations that it has to comply with. There is no rezone application associated with the PGPA application. The property is located at 40 Mercedes Lane and is bounded by a mix of uses including a school, commercial, residential, and vacant commercial. That way? This way? All right. Thank you. The site is south of Laurel between O'Hara Avenue to the east and Mercedes Lane to the west. The 5.7 acre site is, oh, I skipped it. The 5.7 acre site is predominantly flat and undeveloped with the exception of a residence to the southwest, in the southwest corner of the site. Here we see the site overlaid with the land use designation and surrounding designations. As mentioned before, tonight before you is a work session request. And a quick summary, like I said, a preliminary work session offers a chance for feedback and community involvement. Because this is a work session and on a conceptual idea and not a formal development application, staff has not conducted a typical review and analysis of the conceptual plans. The purpose of this work session is to discuss the merits of and provide the proponent feedback on the conceptual idea behind the PGPA application. This item is a request to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation of the project site from commercial to residential high for the purposes of applying for the entitlements to subdivide the property for residential development. A conceptual plan is requested when a project team submits a preliminary general plan amendment. Conceptual plans help to visualize how a project under the proposed designation may look. The plan here shows 58 single-family lots. A potential proposal would not be for affordable deed-restricted units, rather market rate and for-sale duplex units. At the February 4th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, a work session on this item was held before the Planning Commission. The role of the Planning Commission was to receive the staff report from staff, public testimony from the applicant, the public, and any interested parties. The Commission's role was to provide feedback on the preliminary proposal, which would then be passed onto the City Council. The Commission generally expressed that they did not see a particular community benefit from amending the general plan designation from commercial to residential on this parcel. 11 residents provided in-person public comment opposing the proposal and voiced their concerns about their way of life, safety, and potential traffic impacts that the proposal would create. Staff also received 24 emails/written comments from the public in opposition to the proposal. Staff assessment. A change to the RH designation would allow for a maximum gross density of 16.7 dwelling units per acre, potentially accommodating up to 95 dwelling units. Request is City Council feedback. As I mentioned before, this is an advisory hearing only. There's no process to approve a project through this work session. The City Council is requested to provide feedback to the applicant on the preliminary general plan amendment. Examples of such feedback may include, but not limited to, comments on the preliminary land use designation proposed, thoughts on the conceptual plan attached to the staff report, and whether there is interest in considering an application for the requested project. And for your reference, please see the exhibit of the existing and proposed designations for reference during deliberations. Additionally, the applicant team has provided staff with potential home designs for the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any questions for staff? Councilmember Williams.
I have a lot, I'm sorry. Okay, so a couple things you said, and potentially one of them may require the applicant to, even though I'm sure he hasn't penciled anything. So you mentioned there's no affordable component listed anywhere. Do we have any indication that these will be anything less than $600,000 at this point in time? I mean, just in general, do you think that there's an affordable component to it at all? First-time home buyer. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Do I go ahead and give the applicant a chance to speak, and then we can ask questions so that way
I'll save questions to him, but you. For anybody who wants to hear, he said first-time home buyers most likely. But my other question is, and I know this is going to be a tedious list, can you give us the commercial uses that would be allowed? And this is a two-parter because I want them just by right. So the council would only be able to approve design of the building, and then also any uses that would require a CUP for this site.
Certainly. So the general plan designation is commercial. The commercial designation provides for neighborhood, community, and regional serving retail and service uses. limited to office uses, restaurants, service stations, highway-oriented and visitor-serving commercial, lodging, auto-serving, and heavy commercial uses, public and semi-public uses, gathering facilities, and other compatible uses. So one part is that land use designation, but we also have, as I mentioned earlier, zoning. This property is located within the RB zoning district, which does have a wide array of permitted uses. And as the land use designation kind of points out, it's a wide array, including office spaces, auto parts stores, card shops. I don't see those many very often anymore. Banks, bicycle shops, barber shops. The list goes on. It offers for dance studios, retail markets, supply stores, things of that sort. And we can continue further retail opportunities, jewelry, locksmiths, nurseries, paint stores. So as you see from the list, it's a wide mix of what's outright permitted. If you'd like, I can continue to the use permit.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
There are also uses that require a conditional use permit. Those uses include animal grooming services, automotive repair, drive-through restaurants, educational facilities, animal hospitals, gasoline service stations, health clubs, hotels, motels, liquor stores, mixed use, parking facilities, recreational facilities, assembly uses. So those are uses that you would potentially see come before you.
Okay, perfect. And then, okay. And, I know many of us up here have lamented before, but we don't really have a way to say business A, you come here, right? I mean, we don't really have a way to, any of those permitted uses can come here. And do we change the traffic impact based on what type of business it is?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last
The
part?
traffic impact, does it change? Like when we're doing a traffic study, I mean, we don't need to do that for, we wouldn't need to do that for anything that's already an approved use, but say one of the CUPs, what's the traffic impact that we anticipate?
So as part of any application, we look at, any potential impacts, including those traffic-related ones. So even if it was a permitted use, we may potentially want to see, what traffic impacts there may be, especially with, the overall development of a site. We are going to see, what potential impacts that may bring. But that would be really for any project. We're going to analyze those things.
Okay, and currently, because it is zoned commercial, we sort of have a general overview of what the expected traffic impacts are supposed to be for that, along with those other developed commercial sites, correct? Like we assume at max development for those commercial sites, we kind of assume a traffic flow sort of situation?
In a sense, the general plan does kind of evaluate traffic as a whole throughout the city, for potential development. So that is kind of, in a sense, outlined.
Okay. I think I'm done with questions for now. Thank you.
All right. Did the applicant want to come up and answer the question? Present anything, speak? You're good? All right. We're going to, okay. Yep. Let's go ahead and do that then, if you're ready.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, thanks for letting me be here this evening. My name is Matt Beinke with Blackhawk, representing O'Hara Properties tonight. Again, it's a workshop. It's our first pass through this in Oakley. And the concept here, frankly, was the overall goal was really to dial it back from what we dealt with across the street at Laurel Plaza. So I appreciate the questions from Councilmember Williams, because this is a less impactive use. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. And so if we're just starting from that baseline, that's what we were trying to accomplish. And getting over some of the commercial concerns and the impacts that those create, et cetera, et cetera. That's really where this comes from. We did something similar in Brentwood, something similar in Antioch. There's other examples other folks have done out in all 3 East County, or actually 4 or 5 East County jurisdictions. That is a little bit higher density, but I would not call this high density. The issue with the high density, we fell over because we removed the existing house, which added the 4 units, I think, that pushed us into the next bucket of, I guess, the density zoning. We're not looking to up it. If we were, we would have proposed something bigger, and the only way to go more is 3-story, which we have no interest in doing. So the examples we did in Brentwood was a courtyard type product, shared driveway. Difference here, you don't have that. It's an attached duet, and those are really just the simple differences. But it is, to answer your question on the affordability, it isn't deed restricted, but it is first-time home buyer, just by way of the square footages and the type of product. It would be the lower, if not the lowest priced in the area or in the city, based on comparable and competitive communities. And the goal with the last one that we did was really geared towards not only first-time home buyers, but also teachers and nurses and fire and police officers and, you know, young folks, you know, in their not entry level of their career, but again, first-time home buyer. And I know there's obviously a lot of comments coming forward, and I heard this at the Planning Commission, and I totally get it. But again, if everyone's going to come up here and talk about the impacts and the traffic and all that, it's coming. I mean, this is an infill site. It is what it is. We didn't set the rules. The only reason we're looking to change it is because it does reduce the impacts, and I realize that's people's concerns. It's also across the street from the school, so I know some of the uses are also going to be controversial with that school. We've already dealt with that too. But if the community wants it to remain commercial, we are perfectly happy leaving it the way it is. This was simply an alternative, and I already shared what the goal is. And so I understand there's going to be a long list of folks coming up here to talk, and I just thought it was appropriate to do it now instead of at the end, to lay out some ground rules, and or not ground rules, but some ground parameters, if you will, of what our intentions are. So.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So we are going to get into the public comment, and I would like to invite up Nadine.
Hello and thank you. As a property owner and concerned resident, I strongly oppose this project. The proposed rezoning is a direct assault on long-term stability and character of Oakley, and I urge the City Council to reject it as recommended by 100% of the Planning Commission members and Senior Planner Jose Cortez. This rezoning conflicts with Oakley's general plan and existing zoning ordinances. It disregards the city's land use objectives and undermines Oakley's strategic growth goals. We've seen the impact of poorly planned and uncontrolled residential projects in surrounding cities. These cities are now dealing with the fallout, and Oakley cannot afford to follow the same reckless path. As senior planner stated in his staff report, allowing for up to development of up to 95 dwelling units on this site would create significant pressure for similar high-density rezonings on surrounding lots. As development progresses and land use designations change to facilitate that development, pressure increases on nearby vacant properties to develop or request similar or high-density amendments. This pattern of density increases through land use amendments may result in an undesirable development pattern where each new amendment creates adjacent parcels that may seek higher density. It's crucial to consider the broader implications of such amendments on surrounding properties, on their potential to set precedents for other areas, potentially leading to more amendment requests. This was a warning to the City Council. Also, he stated, the Commission generally expressed that they did not see a particular community benefit from amending the general designation from commercial to residential on this parcel. Oakley has become a dumping ground for low-value businesses like gas stations, car washes, and storage units. Our town is more than just a pass-through or truck stop. Approving this project is not only a betrayal of residents, it's a failure of leadership and a failure of vision. The negative impacts on property values are undeniable. Economically, keeping the commercial zoning in place on this lot not only allows the developer to still achieve profitability, but would provide sustainable, steady revenue for the city through business taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, and other commercial-related fees. Keeping it commercial would continuously feed into the city's coffers, benefiting the city budget and providing much-needed local public services and commercial businesses for our underserved community. It would support local economy and generate jobs for residents, further increasing the tax base. This would encourage even more long-term business investment in our city, and Oakley would benefit more by fostering thriving businesses. This is where real long economic growth lies. The City Council, please remember, you have a duty to protect the interests of the community and not interests of a developer who doesn't live here. You serve and work for the residents who elected you. The residents of Oakley are also catching on and learn from history. City Council has lost the trust of the community. The community is aware of connections between the developer and some members of this council. The residents have noticed the city has a history of operating without transparency. Our neighbors receive blank letters, for instance, regarding this meeting. There's a growing sense that City Council is not representing the will of the people, and if you choose to ignore the residents, community will respond. Thank you.
We have a lot of speakers tonight, so I want to try to get through all of them. I understand everyone is very passionate about this, and I do not want to take that away from you guys. So if we can maybe refrain until the end for all the applause, I would appreciate that. I just want to get through all of these. I do have a lot, so. I am going to go to one that was submitted online that said they indicated they wish to speak. Ken Tilcock.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Ken Tilcock. I'm a 35-year resident of Oakley. When I first heard about the 40 Mercedes Lane project and proposed rezoning from commercial to high-density housing, my initial thought was, how does this make sense for this piece of land and benefit the citizens of Oakley? And after careful consideration, I came to the conclusion that it neither makes sense for or benefits the people of Oakley. I believe that it only really benefits a few people involved in building of this project, mainly the landowner for obvious the landowner and developer for obvious reasons. One of the many reasons I strongly disagree with rezoning this property is that Laurel Road is now the main corridor between West Oakley to East Oakley, which is a fantastic opportunity for retail or other commercial ventures. It is a high visibility corner parcel, kitty corner to the new Safeway. Just so you know, I think the Safeway shopping center is a perfect fit for that piece of land. Also, there are very few spots left on Laurel Road to build something that would improve our city and enrich our everyday lives. Housing does nothing for that corner but cause a multitude of problems such as safety, traffic, overcrowding, less jobs for residents, and for me, just the look and feel of our city. I've heard it said that people like me won't be happy with whatever is built on that corner, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. I have many, many commercial ideas about what could be built on that parcel, way too many to list here, that would enhance our city and make Oakley a destination city rather than a drive-through city. I've also heard it said that, well, people need a place to live, and I couldn't agree more, but I strongly disagree that this is the right spot for this project. We need commercial. I hazard to guess that an overwhelming majority of the people here this evening are against rezoning and this project, and that very few are for it. So for me, we the people have spoken. So I hope you, the City Council and Mayor, have heard us, we the people of Oakley, loud and clear, and that you will work in our best interest and make Oakley better rather than worse by voting no on rezoning and this project. Thanks for listening and for your time.
Thank you. All right. Up next, we have Brad Nix.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I certainly hope that all of you took the time to watch the Planning Commission meeting. I certainly hope you took the time in particular to listen to each of the Planning Commission members' responses at the end of the hearing, because you should have heard very loudly and clearly what's wrong with this going forward. Now, my first comment, in addition to what I said the last time, comes down to this. Why are we here so quickly? February 4th to March 11th, the exact same proposal with barely a comment as to what occurred at that prior meeting, how strong the feelings were. It sure seems like and feels like an end run around what the public tried to get across to the Planning Commission, which should be your body hearing public comment for you. So did you listen? Did you watch it? I'd like some nodding heads on that one. What's a little worse and makes me a little more angry is that these people back here, 40 Mercedes Lane, in the 300-foot zone, so many of them, and I don't know yet how many of them, because you called this meeting too quick to figure it out, a number of them received blank envelopes with no meeting notice. Do you realize how bad that makes the city government looks to the city of Oakley, or to the residents here? It's insane. It's a very bad look for the city. But nevertheless, the applicant has a right, apparently, to push ahead, and that's what we're seeing. So guess what? The residents that are concerned are here, and they're ready to speak again. And there are going to be more of them if you go further, a lot more. There's only not as many this time, simply because we got rushed, but there will be more. A couple more comments. We have a crying need for commercial land in the city of Oakley. We need it for revenue. We need it to provide services. Last time I checked, we were somewhere around 10% of the per capita money that Walnut Creek and other large affluent cities had. Commercial is what it takes to start to equal that gap, or start to fill that gap and provide money for services. This was prime land for commercial by the original city council in the original general plan, and all the reasons for it remain. Finally, it is starting to develop. Now is not the time to take away the very limited commercial land we have. It's needed. Secondarily, this is an incredibly bad project for that land. I heard the applicants talk about, gee, the traffic impacts. Well, there's a lot of commercial that would fit in very nicely there. Say, for example, medical offices, accounting offices, a lot of things that would fit in very nicely. What doesn't fit in nicely is little kids running out onto the street because they're in crowded housing with no place to play, no backyards, right on a busy street, the intersection of two busy streets. That's a horrendous traffic impact. Not to mention the impact on the people trying to go to the school, take their kids over to that elementary school.
Your time has expired. Thank you so much.
Just say no. Thank you.
All right. We are going to move on to Bud Chaddock.
Good evening once again. This is a subject that needs to be addressed as far as this goes. Yes, commercial would be a better way to go. There's already just massive amounts of traffic on that road. It's backed up all the way to Empire already. What is that going to do? It's still going to bottleneck when you get down to the other end with no relief. You got X amount of lanes, period. But the thing that gets me is that we went through this end around game before, to where it was quick whack and McDonald's, and it got pushed through last minute when supposedly we had a court date a few days later. And with this court date, the people would have had a chance, but it got smashed, and basically with threats of, well, I'm going to get what I want anyway. And I feel like that's what we're seeing tonight also. It's kind of eerie to me. It's like watching the same horror flick all over again. I just don't feel it's a good fit with the amount of traffic on there, the kids, seeing the kids walking every day the way I do, and people just not stopping. I just think it's a really bad fit. The congestion in the area is going to be horrible. I do feel that, like the previous speaker brought up, it would have been better to have various, businesses of that sort that he mentioned earlier. It just makes a lot more sense for us to grow and have the needs met of the community. I also just feel that it's just more and more and more, and I'm going to get what I want. I feel like we're running into this. We ran into this before. The last time it was voted down by the previous, people that were council members and mayor. It was a 3-2 vote, came up last minute. It got passed with new membership all of a sudden. So it was like, wow, this is how it's going to be going, I guess. So to me, it's just not a really good fit for the city. I do feel, especially with Safeway there, it's going to be busy already, but that's something that's been in the works since I worked with Safeway. That's been in the works for 30-some years, as far as buying property, switching hands and whatnot, from, Safeway to Albertsons to then again other companies. So that's here. It's going to happen. It's being built, and that will help our community that way as far as certain needs. But there should be more needs like that put on that corner, I believe. And I do not believe that we should just basically let someone come in here, tell you and the city what they're going to do. And that's basically what I'm hearing, and I've lived through it once.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to Donna Chaddock. There she is.
Madam Mayor, City Council members, I first want to start with, I appreciate George Fuller and Anissa. They ask questions. They look at these issues. We've been here before. Mr. Meadows, Mr. Henderson, Ms. Shaw. When the CUP came up for review for the McDonald's and the Quick Quack, you did not listen to the residents. You did not listen, and you don't listen. You pander to developers. We're all here because of that. I've been through this. I've lived here for 32 years. I've been through the Planning Commission. I've been through everything. You don't listen to what the people tell you what they want. We keep saying we want less traffic. We don't want more gas stations. We don't want more fast food restaurants. Cypress is a mess. The roads are not being developed, but yet you still do it. I've been here and I've seen the blame. I've been here for 20 years and seen the blame. You all put the blame on the previous city council members. It's their fault. They didn't plan for the roads. They didn't do it. Now we have a new situation. And I was here when Mr. Binky was here, and he walked in and he waved a lawsuit that night, and he said, oh, this is it. And the three of you voted for him to build the Quick Quack car wash and McDonald's. We all said no to that, but you did it anyway because you were afraid that there would be a lawsuit. When Derek Cole, the city attorney at the time, said that that probably wouldn't happen because the next day it was supposed to go in front of a judge. But the three of you voted for that. So now we hear again talking about Laurel and O'Hara, and all these people are telling you they don't want this development to happen. So now it's up to you, 5 people who get to vote. You all get to vote on this. How are you going to vote? We'll have to wait and see what each of you vote. But you clearly do not listen to the people that you are representing. All of us would not be here today if you listened to us. And that is the fact of the matter. You got big corporations that come in, McDonald's and Quick Quack. They have tons of money. You think Donna Chaddock has tons of money? I don't have tons of money. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to Ari Pratt. Eric? Eric? Sorry. Some of these cards are hard to read, guys. Please bear with me.
Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to everybody. I know it can be a little difficult sitting there taking the parade of everyone's opinions and comments on this subject. So I applaud you guys for your patience in listening to what everyone has to say. I was actually one of the speakers here on February 4th that was talking about this. And I kind of laughed to myself as I walked in, because one of the things that I even made a comment on was the vision of Oakley. We have a little comment up there that talks about the vision of Oakley playing in your backyard. And I was like, you guys might want to change that because none of these houses have backyards. I thought that was a little funny that it still hasn't been changed. But regardless of that, I also heard that we were talking about the commute in Brentwood being absolutely horrible. You don't need to worry about that because Oakley's going to take that pretty soon with these houses. So don't have to worry about that. At the end of the day, we can't be sitting here going, okay, well, what's best for this community? What's best for the people here in Oakley? I mean, I've been here pretty much my entire life since 1996. I grew up seeing the small town of Oakley become a city of Oakley. And I can tell you that one of the most heartbreaking things for me growing up in this city is to see Oakley, the city of farmland and all this great stuff, turn into gas stations and storage units. That was heartbreaking to see. And then to see a fast food chain that's not even remotely healthy be put next to an elementary school is also a little disturbing, because that's not putting the children's health and thought into any consideration. With this new housing, we got to consider at the end of the day, whose pockets are we really trying to fill? Are we trying to fill developers and the owner, who are already pretty wealthy, just fill their pockets more? Or are we trying to enrich our community? Traffic alone, you're going to hear that all day and night, but one thing we haven't considered or even talked about is that with these lower income housings, of which they still haven't said how much they'll cost, they just said first time buyers, which I thought was funny. The other problem with this is it's going to make all the surrounding home values go down and all of their bills go up for water and electricity. Are we considering the fire departments, police departments, and the schools? I mean, last time I was here, we were referred to as these people, which was definitely an interesting statement. They actually said that the school was the problem because it would impact their building, not the other way around. They said the school was the problem. So let's consider that when we're making decisions on this project, on whether or not it serves the community that lives here best already, or if it serves a few people's pockets that are already pretty full. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kim Colley.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm here tonight to let everyone know that I'm 100% totally against this project on 40 Mercedes. This is not going to be good. I'm not going to even announce traffic and all this other stuff because Mr. Binky don't want to hear all that, but it's too bad, so sad. He's going to hear what everybody has to say. It's not his, waving, we're going to get this, we're going to get that. Here's a couple 100,000 for you, here's 10 for you. No, we're not doing that. We the people, I have been here since 1987, 38 years. I've lived in Laurel Gardens, going on 29. I am opposed to this project. It is not going to work for many reasons. Emergency, getting through there if there's a problem with the residents that live over there. let alone the school. The school is a huge problem. And you all say that's not full school. That school, have any of you guys ever sat there at school time? It is ridiculous. You cannot get through. So whether you're picking up a kid or you're just trying to drive home, you got to go up to O'Hara, go back around to get even through there. So just let everyone know that this project is horrible. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much. Ron Colley.
Thank you. And Ron Colley, 38-year resident of Oakley. And I want to thank Blackhawk for showing interest in Oakley. Stick around, but not here on this corner. And it's funny that Blackhawk's getting into first-time home buyers. That's interesting. Must be pretty nice. I started commuting back in 1987 because I needed a place to live. I put up with it because that's what I could afford. And Oakley was a nice town. It's starting to sound like there's some really big concerns developing. I think everybody that's already spoke has said most of what I've said. The one thing I'd like to bring to everybody's attention, up here on this map, if there's an accident on Laurel heading to O'Hara, where's everybody going? They're going to turn down Mercedes. They're going to go right through this new housing development where all these kids are, about 300 people in there. No, not good. And then I think what we should be spending our time on is figuring out a better way to have the flow for the parents for Laurel School there. Has anybody even stopped to look at that lately? And like everybody else has said, Eric said earlier, bad commute, it's going to get real bad. If you have a commercial there, you have options, more options of getting in and out of there rather than going through somebody's front yard. They're going to cut right through this new development. They're going to cut down into the Laurel Gardens, right down through all these houses when there's an accident there. Not in favor. Thank you very much for considering the corner, but no thank you. You said we, the people, speak, and you would seek elsewhere. Well, we're speaking. I think that we're done talking pretty much. We should be. That's what he said. If we say no, he's not interested. We're not interested. And you guys don't even know the fire that has been developed behind the scenes because of this issue. Brutal. And then blank papers. Come on. What happened here? What happened? If I've produced blank papers at my work, I wouldn't have a job. Somebody needs to get it together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Andrea Brown.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Brown. I oppose this high-density housing up to 94 homes and would like to keep this area zoned for commercial as it is already approved for. My main concern is safety. More cars and more people equals more traffic and crime. I currently work for the school district and cannot get onto Laurel in the mornings in a timely manner, and I live on Mercedes. I must go around to O'Hara, and many times that is congested. I would love to see a family or community-oriented business on this corner. We have enough gas stations, storage units, and car washes on Laurel and surrounding areas. I know this is redundant, but sounds like you guys are looking at how many people are here. So if the council has their minds made up and does not plan on listening to the people of Oakley, at least do not put an entrance on Mercedes due to the elementary school on the corner, and so that the residents can leave within 5 minutes. That's all I really have. At the last meeting I was here, I did mention I'm a new resident to Oakley. I've lived here now, maybe this Christmas is 4 years. And so my highlight of the last short memo I had was that I was in my home for almost 20 years in Antioch. So the only reason I moved from there was to get my daughter to a better school. I thought that the schools were a little bit better. I can't afford to move out of East County, but I just thought Oakley was a nice place to live. When I was looking to buy a home, I honestly wouldn't have looked at that street if there was big buildings there. My prior job, I'm not going to mention and stereotype, but it is known that the more McDonald's, the more gas stations, the more liquor stores, more of those things. I had a choice in where to move, and so I would not have chose Mercedes Lane if I had seen those buildings and I was here prior to the McDonald's and the Quick Quack. I just would have chose another neighborhood. I hope to stay here 20 plus years and have my family. I still love the neighborhood, and I hope that you guys do choose to keep it as it is, commercial, so that it is safe for my family to grow. I have a 10-year-old, so I'm not going to grow any more than that younger one. But I just, we have grandkids coming now, and I would like them to be able to get to our street and leave in a timely manner should there be an emergency. So I do oppose this, and I hope you consider that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Krishan Ross.
Good evening, Mayor Shaw and City Council members. I'm here today in opposition to rezoning the 40 Mercedes Lane lot from commercial to residential. Commercial is more compatible with the nearby zoning, and it is more appropriate with our community needs. The council may fear the developer will use the state density bonus law to bully their way into forcing an undesirable project of overcrowded housing down our throats. But that law does not apply because this location does not make the most sense. While there's a surplus of moderate and market rate housing already in the works throughout Oakley, we currently have 47,251 people. We're estimated to grow to 75,000 or 80,000 in size. There are plenty of available lots that the developer and landowner could use if they wanted to build more housing, and they should be more creative to attract better businesses to this particular location. They purchased the property knowing the risk of developing commercial and bought the land as commercial retail business use. Now that the risk hasn't paid off, they're in a hurry to rezone it and claim that it's undevelopable for commercial use. Safeway and other retail shops are going in on the Laurel and O'Hara corner lot, and they should help attract other businesses to come into this location. Jobs are needed in our community. Highway 4 is congested enough. We could use transportation improvements, and the city can also benefit from the tax revenue. The developer should look at San Ramon, considering in his backyard, for guidance, who has a good jobs housing balance. And the mayor and city council members should also explore other viable businesses for this location, instead of telling its residents to pull their money together and start a co-op on social media. Furthermore, it is extremely ironic that the landowner, Ron Nunn, is even proposing this project. When he was interviewed last year in Brentwood, he stated in a YouTube video, and I quote, "Brentwood is a nice place to live. Brentwood has still been able to hang on to farms and development and maintain character. If you want to let that go and develop it, then you will have a town like Antioch and Concord. There is no town charm anymore," end quote. Why doesn't he apply a similar outlook to Oakley and allow Oakley to keep its small town charm and keep this location commercial? Oakley residents deserve to have a nice community with a city council that listens to them and designs the city with smart development in mind. If that can't happen right away, then maybe we should pause, pass a moratorium on growth until we can address compliance issues with our general plan. We are already paying very expensive special assessments for limited resources and services. and we should not just give developers a free hand to destroy our city's development goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Sean Ross.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you. My name is Sean Ross. I live in District 3. I live about 2 blocks from the proposed project. I vote and I highly disapprove of the rezoning of 40 Mercedes Lane from commercial to high-density residential. As it is, there aren't enough businesses in Oakley to meet our needs. My family, like most of our neighbors, have to go to surrounding cities for entertainment and to buy goods and services. We spend most of our money in Brentwood and a lesser degree in Antioch because Oakley just doesn't have enough commercial. Wouldn't it be great if we created jobs here for people who live here instead of creating housing and adding more people who have to travel elsewhere to work? 40 Mercedes Lane is located pretty much in the center of town and ideally located off of the Laurel exit. This location makes the most sense for where to put a commercial district. It will be readily accessible to everybody in the city. I believe the developer is being totally disingenuous with their concept of what this project could look like. 58 single-family units, I doubt it. If you rezone this parcel, the application for the project won't even slightly resemble what they're proposing here tonight. Without a doubt, they will lean into the state's density bonus law and apply for a project of 95 units, which is the maximum number the planning department said this parcel could support. A 95-unit high-density housing project in the center of the city will forever diminish the small-town feel of our small town. During the McDonald's debacle, Mr. Banky repeatedly said the businesses didn't want to come to Oakley, and all we could get was a McDonald's and a Quick Quack. Chipotle was offered as a suggestion, and Mr. Banky said Chipotle had no interest in coming here. Yet the developer right across the street, the one currently bringing us the Safeway, is also bringing us a Chipotle, Wingstop, Starbucks, and a nail salon. I suggested if Mr. Beakey and Mr. Nunn aren't skilled enough to find commercial businesses to occupy this parcel, perhaps they should just sell the land to another developer who can. I want you to look around this room. All but, actually I had written down here a handful, but I've been keeping score. 35 people in opposition from city staff, 10 before me in opposition of rezoning. 1 person in favor of rezoning, Mr. Binky. So your constituents, the people that vote for you, are in this room, and they're telling you what we don't want. We don't want this to be rezoned. We don't want residential there. We need commercial properties. And that about covers it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next we have Mark Sutter.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Shaw. I've actually kind of done away with some of this since the points have already been made. But thank you for allowing to hear my request. Actually, more of a plea to please keep this property zoned as it is currently. I've been a resident of this community for 30 years, right near this property in question. The property zoning and use plan was designated as part of a plan, which doesn't need to change unless a mistake was made or something isn't working. And I'm unaware of anything that isn't working with the plan that was made a long time ago. I actually took a minute to look this property up on Zillow to see its history and found that it was foreclosed on in December of 2011, and the current owner purchased this property in April of 2012 for $450,000. That's an extremely low price for 5.7 acres of commercial zone property with a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath home on the property. The property owner can make a lot of money by developing this commercial property that provides jobs and services for our residents rather than overcrowding an area right next to an elementary school. You know, the developer and landowner's request to build high-density complex amounts to extreme greed, in my opinion, and sends a message to my neighbors and myself that they only care about making as much money as possible rather than still making a lot of money developing the property for its intended use. As our council members, We have voted for you to look out for our best interests, and I beg you to please hear the concerns of the citizens who feel strongly enough to take their time to be here and send their public comments to keep this property zoned as is. Please do the right thing. If this means Oakley needs to spend some money on attorney's fees, then please know that this tax-paying Oakley residents gives you the blessing to spend as much money as needed to keep this property zoning intact.
All right, so that was the last speaker card that I have. So I'm going to bring this back to the council for discussion. Councilmember Williams.
Okay, I just want to address a couple things. First of all, super happy everybody is here. It's really nice. I wish this was every meeting, but it's not. And so there's a couple things that got talked about here that I think it's important to address so that you all know and understand a couple different things. So there's been a lot of conversation about school pickup. That is my complaint all the time, and it's not just Laurel. It's every single school. And I had 3 kids who went to Laurel. I've got various kids who go to different schools now throughout. School pickup and drop-off line has not been redone by the school for 30 plus years. Since it was invented, that was where, since it was established, that was where it went. So the school held 2 different workshops, the school district, because they're in control of their queues. It's not the city. We don't even get, I even asked the school district, did you consult any of our traffic impact? They're under no responsibility to do that, so they don't. But I have to say that I was the only parent who was there. Everybody else was teachers, and they were talking about their inside fixes. And I said, you would have a fast win with the city if we just figured out a different way to do these pickup lines. It would make residents' lives so much better. So I think it's important that we know that there's been opportunities to make comments on that, and there hasn't been a lot of comments on that. So that's kind of a bummer. The other thing that I think is really important to know, first, I do want to say that I am really never in support of losing commercial to residential. We have a jobs to housing imbalance. Do I think that this property has the potential to remedy some of that? Maybe, but do I also know the applications that are coming in and have some fears that some of this traffic stuff is going to get exacerbated by some of those uses? I do. I have fears about that because I tried for 2.5 years to get a zoning ordinance that would limit the saturation of gas stations, car washes, storage units, and fast food. And guess what portion I couldn't get agreement on? Fast food. So the possibility of there being a fast food drive-through here, it's high. It's possible. So those are the things that make me very nervous. I do also think that it is important that we correct a little bit of the language because we're coming hard, and we all know I did not vote for the McDonald's, but we're coming hard for the developer. He did the right thing in this project. He presented it as a work session. There's no vote. He heard the feedback from the last one, and if traffic is the main concern, we have to have the discussion. We have to have the discussion, which is why he brought the work session. So there's no vote to be had about this. So I just think those are important things to get out there. A couple other things, because I was very upset about the blank notices, but again, the fact that this is a work session, there's much different noticing requirements, and the city didn't have to do that noticing at all. They did it as a courtesy, and it bit them. So maybe we won't do those as a courtesy anymore because it was a mistake. So I do think it's important to not always hear the malicious intent. I think we need commercial, and I very much worry about if this gets allowed to be residential, then what happens to the Vineyard property. And I do think that Safeway is going to spur a lot of things, and we haven't seen what these corners can do. And so for me, it's obviously, it's not, I don't want this here, but I don't not want it here, not for the same reasons that everybody else doesn't want it here. I don't want to lose that commercial because I think we haven't even seen what those corners can do. And, we've got some uses that we don't all love, but you can argue that those uses are also now finally getting us some other ones. So I think it is important to call out the things that were right about this. And, you know, we need first-time homebuyer homes. Do we need it right there? Not at the loss of commercial, but we
Excuse me,
need
I'm sorry.
need first-time homebuyers homes
Councilmember
because
Williams. Councilmember Williams, give me 1 second, please. You guys all got to speak without any comments. I would really appreciate it if you could let the council have their comments now. No, the council gets to deliberate and have conversation, so please be considerate and let the council say what needs to be said. Thank you.
as I said, we need first-time homebuyer homes, just not at the loss of commercial land. So before we're starting to get upset in the audience, we should listen to the things. We're advocating for you. We're advocating for you. We need first-time homebuyers. We need homes here. Currently today, not on this lot. I'm talking about in Oakley in general. All of us came here who purchased a home because we had to, because this is where we could afford.
I'm gonna just, you guys, I don't want to have to ask anybody to leave. I really appreciate everybody that's come to speak. Please let the council comment. We can't have back and forth. I do want you all to know we heard everything that you had to say. Some of us will, you know, we have a closed session after, so we won't necessarily be available right after this meeting, but you can reach out. But I do want to please respect the rules and let the council comment. Thank you.
Another thing that I want to bring up is that I came onto council because I was a small business owner and I was so tired of all the different things that I was seeing here. And, you know, we all are going to compare ourselves to Brentwood. Brentwood goes through the exact same thing. They're going through the exact same comments. You know, Antioch's doing something right now, and I heard about another habit, another this, another this. Unfortunately, those are the people who are able to get funding. Those are the people who have large pockets to fund these things. My tiny, tiny restaurant cost $350,000 to fit it. That is not something that a bunch of small businesses can do. So we just have to understand that there's risk with all of this, and I just hope that keeping it commercial, as I believe many people want, I just hope that that's going to give you the outcome that you still also want. That's the part of it that is really hard for me, because when everybody is saying traffic and graffiti and trash, those are all things that come with commercials. So it just makes me really nervous that there's going to be some surprises for the people who live there. So I have some concern about that. So I just wanted that to be said. I am not in support of losing commercial to residential in a main commercial corridor. I just would like everybody to be cautious in that, you know, there's risks to this as well. So that was kind of all.
Councilmember Meadows.
I support commercial. We've had one project come before us that we voted to change the zoning from commercial to residential. It was a poor commercial site. No ingress or egress on that site. This corner here, in my opinion, is probably the most important intersection in Oakley. I've always looked at all four corners as commercial. So my preference is to keep it commercial.
Vice Mayor Henderson.
So this piece of property was actually zoned commercial, and Laurel and O'Hara was seen to be a main artery prior to even incorporation, so over 25 years ago. So this property definitely should stay commercial. But what we're here tonight is to provide input on the conceptual projects that's before us. And there really hasn't been any input to that, and I just think there's a few things that need to be pointed out in there. I'm not in favor of the private streets coming off the corridor, because that turns into a nightmare for public safety. They don't have law enforcement authority on those private streets. It turns into a problem with parking, garbage pickup, fire service. So there's a problem in there. And again, access off of Mercedes and O'Hara, I think if you were going to do a project like this, there would need to be a third access, if nothing else, for emergency services to be able to get into something like that. The other problem with this kind of a complex, as tight as it would be, again, when you start looking at parking, the average house has at least 2 cars. Then if you have somebody over, or you're going to have overflow parking, then go into the neighborhoods down Mercedes. Again, where are these people going to be able to function in a thing like this? So as you look at this project, if you were to try to bring this forward after hearing the community, those would be definitely areas that need to be looked at before you bring it back. Thank you.
Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, thank you for being here. It is a basic government right to petition people to petition their government. And tonight you've demonstrated that this is our town and you're going to petition it. And I have encouraged this, and I say that you need to keep watching closely, because what I've seen up here is a dynamic that the developer will come in and they will have 3 votes. And the way you're going to stop that is a referendum or a form of initiative. And at this stage, this is where we need to be. The fact that you have come here and presented yourself, people are aware. During this, a leader has been born, Miss Abad. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, back here. She has single-handedly put this together, is a great leader and emerging in the community, and I appreciate all that she's done in terms of this. Mr. Nix is here. I don't know how many are aware of it, but Brad Nix was one of the original mayors here. He actually helped write the general plan and approve it. And he said it should be a commercial. And guess what? About 20 years later, he's up here, it should still be commercial. And it's right, I agree, it should remain commercial. Again, we need to provide the direction. We need to show where we want it to go. That this is where the community now is ours, and we need to continue to develop it the way it is. I am very bothered that we're having a series of developers come in. I need you to do this for me. I need you to do that for me. We have Cedarwood over here that's looking at going from low residential, low density, very low density residential, the medium residential, and everybody's up here at us wanting us to change it, and we've done it too much. So in this sense, I encourage you to go forward. Right now, if Mr. Banky owns the property and comes back and presents a viable alternative, and he knows that cannot be putting any more gas stations around there, because Safeway will have a gas station and there'll be a gas station across the street. So we've brought that under control, so we won't have 4 corners of gas stations at the location. We have some ideas and we're willing to look there, but I've heard, well, if a person owns a property, well, they should do it. But that doesn't, anybody can then go to the Tenderloin with a piece of property, pick up about 30, 40 people and bring them back here to Oakley and give them tents, set it all up, because that's their property. And they say, that's the way I want to use it. Well, actually, in the city council and the city, we can actually have a word in that. And we need to provide direction. We don't want to disenfranchise anybody, but we live here. This is where we need to go. Irvine did very well. Irvine has done very well in their development, and without very little acrimony that has occurred there. So I would like us to continue to be somewhere along that line, that we have everybody involved, everybody there, and we hear Not necessary, just we hear at the ballot box, we hear at the referendum when things are not going the way that they should. And the council is, what I've heard is we're not listening, then you should make us listen. And that referendum is a horrendous amount of work and very much time consuming, but this is our community and we need to maintain that. Thank you.
Okay, hold on, one more. Sorry, there's 5 of us, guys. I get to have something too. A couple clarifying things. One of the public speakers made a comment that Cypress is not being developed. That is so being developed right now, you guys. That is so happening. I just wanted to clarify that. You know, like others have said, there are certain businesses that are allowed here without coming back to the council. So I appreciate Councilmember Williams asking for that entire list. This is not a low-income project. Hopefully the comment about trust, you know, now that we are publishing all of our public comments online, hopefully that's a step in the right direction. We're always trying to figure out a way to make sure that the residents know that we are getting their feedback. I just wanted to comment on that. Part of the process is, and like it was stated in the staff report, there were some comments about 2 work sessions. That is the process. There are some things that go to the Planning Commission and they are the deciding, and there are some things that only come to the council. But in this situation, there is a work session for the Planning Commission, they advise the council, and there's always a second work session for the council. So it isn't that they didn't listen, this is the process. And I just wanted to put those things out now as far as how I feel. I don't believe that this corner has shown its full potential on what commercial can be. We've got Safeway coming, and that's, if you guys, you guys live there, you see it, it's happening fast. And I have access to some documents from before we were ever even incorporated, and this has always been zoned commercial. Does that mean that something that was in place 25 years ago doesn't change? Not always. We have approved a change from residential to commercial just recently on Main Street. And we have denied applicants that have asked to change commercial to residential. So everything is looked at as an individual application. And you know, I met with a lot of the residents. I've talked to some of you. I've met with you, but I don't think that we've seen the potential for this commercial lot. So I'm not in favor of it. And I will say that no developer, city staff, or anyone that wants to call me a minion is going to bully me into changing how I feel. I decide every single application based on an individual proposal. It is not because I voted one way last time, I'm going to vote this way this time. I look at every single site, I drive every single site, I talk to the residents, I do my due diligence, and in my opinion, as the rest of us have stated, we think this should stay commercial. So, I guess Councilmember Williams has her button lit up, so.
I just want to make sure that we can, everybody's obviously very happy about this, but I think we need to have some sort of like resolution, because I think what happens is a work session, sometimes things come from, sometimes things follow this. So I just want to, we heard in the public comment that they were surprised by this meeting. I did watch the Planning Commission, they gave the steps. I know we can't necessarily give the steps right now. At this point, it's up to the developer whether he wants to actually submit a formal application to change this. But if we could just close out those, what next steps would happen in this situation?
Sure. The ball's kind of in the applicant's court right now. So, you know, if the applicant chooses to submit an application, we would take that application in. We would process that application like we would do any other application. It would go under, you know, analysis by our staff, by outside agencies. We're not a full-service city, so we have, you know, separate water and sewer districts here, a separate fire district that serves us. All those folks are given the opportunity to provide comments on those applications that we receive. Typically, applications are subject to some kind of CEQA review unless they're exempt from CEQA. That's the California Environmental Quality Act. And then ultimately, a project is scheduled for a hearing. A project like this with a general plan amendment and a rezone would go to the Planning Commission first for a recommendation. They are an advisory body for an application like this, and ultimately the City Council would be the final decision maker, assuming an application would be submitted and got to that point.
And then if a commercial application was submitted, they would still have to go through some of those steps.
Same process. Yep.
All right. I just wanted to clarify. That doesn't mean, yes. So we've heard you guys. We've given as much direction as I think we can. So we are going to close item 8.1. We do have a closed session, which is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6A. City Designated Representative Josh McMurray, City Manager, and Jerry Tejeda with unrepresented employees. I'm not going to list them all. And 9.2, public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.5E, title City Manager, and the city clerk will record the time that the meeting is adjourned. You are all welcome to join us at our next meeting. We have them the second and fourth Tuesday of the months. Thank you.